Bhagavad Gita Chapter 1 Text 23 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Let's stay with Arjuna for another breath. Arjuna speaks again, and this time his words become sharper, not in anger but in clarity. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. It's a striking line, because Arjuna is no longer speaking only about strategy. He is speaking about motive. He is not simply saying, "Let me see the opposing army." He is saying, "Let me see the people who have gathered here because they have chosen to stand behind a particular will, a particular ambition." The war does not appear out of nowhere. It takes shape gradually through choices made in courtrooms and councils, through negotiations that fail, through pride that hardens, and through mistrust that grows louder than restraint. Duryodhana's wish for the kingdom sits at the center of this tension, and many around him are pulled into it for different reasons. Some are convinced by his claim, some are bound by loyalty, some by duty, some by fear of what happens if they stand apart, and some simply by the momentum of events that no one seems able to reverse. So by the time the armies stand facing each other, it is less a sudden eruption and more the final form of a conflict that has been forming for years. The field only reveals what has already been building within people and within relationships. So when Arjuna asked to see those who wish to please Duryodhana, not to argue with them, not to reopen negotiations, not to persuade them at the last minute, that time has passed. He wants to see them because he wants to understand the reality of what he is facing. He wants to know who has stepped forward, who is committed, and what kind of force has gathered around Duryodhana's desire. There is also something plain and practical here, the kind of clarity a warrior must have. Before the first arrow is released, you study the field. You identify the leaders. You measure the strength. You take in the shape of what stands in front of you. And Arjuna is doing just that. Yet he is doing it with Lord Sri Krishna beside him. And that changes the spirit of the request. Arjuna uses one phrase that is especially revealing. He says, "wishing to please." That is where the psychology lives. Many people do not join a harmful cause because they have carefully reasoned themselves into it. They join because they want to belong. They join because they want to stay closer to power. They convince themselves it is safer to stand with the dominant person than to stand with the truth. To wish to please is not always a harmless social habit. In a moral crisis, it becomes a doorway into compromise. And that compromise usually does not begin with a grand betrayal. It begins with small agreements, small silences, small decisions not to object. It begins with telling yourself that it is not your role to interfere, that the situation is too complex, that you are only doing what you must. Over time, these small silences turn into presence, and presence turns into great participation. So when Arjuna says he wants to see who has come to please Duryodhana, he is looking at a particular kind of weakness, the weakness of surrendering one's conscience to the hunger for approval. There is another reason that matters. When you face opposition, it helps to know what you're truly up against. If someone is fighting for a principle, they may still be reachable through reason. If someone is fighting to please a person, then reason has less room to enter because the goal is never the truth. The goal is loyalty to an ego or loyalty to a reward. Arjuna is trying to understand the emotional engine behind the army. What is driving them? What are they protecting? What are they willing to sacrifice for the sake of one man's desire? And then, very gently, the verse turns the mirror toward us. Where in our own lives do we act from the need to please? Where do we align ourselves with what is convenient simply because it keeps us accepted? Where do we stay quiet around something we know is wrong because speaking up would cost us our comfort or connection? This is not a verse meant to make us suspicious of others. It is a verse meant to make us honest about ourselves, because the most dangerous battlefield is often not outside. It is inside the human heart, where truth and belonging sometimes pull in different directions. This verse brings us closer to the real anatomy of conflict. It is not only about weapons and numbers. It is about motive, about alignment, about the subtle ways people gather around power. And the more clearly we can see motive in others and in ourselves, the more cleanly we can act without illusion, without self-deception, and without losing the steadiness of our own inner compass. May this verse help us see intention clearly, without harshness, and stand steady in what we know to be right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Until we meet again.